So week 1 is over. Your fantasy team had their first official performance, and you're either super happy and you've had a perfect draft, or you're like me and you've had so many regrets of people that you've drafted did not pan out. But fortunately for you, fantasy football is a week-to-week game, and the waiver wires, you'll find players who could turn your team into a contender. So based off that 1 week of NFL action, I have some wide receivers that you need to target on the waiver wire going into week 2. So I'm going to talk about 5 wide receivers that you should be targeting if possible in your league. You should be able to grab at least one of them. And my first one that I'm going to start with is Marquise Hollywood Brown of the Kansas City Chiefs, which is available in 65% of leagues. Obviously, this one is a no-brainer for this week, with Rashee Rice suspended and rookie Xavier Worthy suffering a dislocated shoulder. Marquise Brown is a clear-cut wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes. In week 1, he was targeted a team-high 16 times, catching 10 for 99 yards. So this is a massive 41% target share. Is a huge indicator of his immediate value. He's a wide receiver with that kind of volume from an elite quarterback and is a must add in a weekly wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, and he should be your top priority for this week. So I put Hollywood Brown slightly over this guy, but I do think that they're very close. So Quentin Johnston of the Los Angeles Chargers, who's available in 50% of leagues. So after a dreadful rookie campaign, Quentin Johnston finally showed flashiness of his first round potential in week 1. He caught 5 of his 7 targets for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns, finishing with 24.9 PPR points. He had a 20.6% target share, which is super promising. Obviously, his role as a downfield threat to Justin Herbert-led offense gives him huge upside, and he continues to build chemistry with his quarterback. So I do think that this could be a league-winning addition. He's a high priority add with immediate flex appeal. Again, I think that he is the best wide receiver on that team. I know they brought back Keenan Allen, but I think he's getting up there in age, and he's definitely not the focal point of this offense. I do think that they're going to be better at the run with Marion Hampton, so more potential red zone opportunities. And again, he just had that to build that chemistry with Justin Herbert, but now it seems like they're on the same page, and I think he's going to be a huge part of the offense moving forward. So definitely pick him up. I can't believe he's available in over half the leagues. Definitely make him a priority this week. Cedric Tillman of the Cleveland Browns, who's available in 65% of the leagues. Tillman, who had a strong preseason, looked good in week 1. He got 5 of his 8 targets for 52 yards and a touchdown. He had a great connection with his quarterback, Joe Flacco, and could see an increased role in the offense. I think he's a great flex option with upside, especially in deeper leagues. He ran 45 routes, tied for the most of any receiver in week 1, which is crazy. I think there's, especially if you have Joe Flacco at quarterback, I do think that there's always going to be that downfield threat. Obviously, we know Joe Flacco can support wide receiver 1. The only downside I would see here is obviously they have a bunch of quarterbacks on that team. If for whatever reason they decide to switch it up or get any of these other quarterbacks like Sanders in for some plays for whatever reason, I do think that could harm his value. But I do think Cedric Tillman is still a great ad, available in 65% of the leagues. Definitely worth. I wouldn't spend such a high waiver priority on him or a huge percent of your budget, but definitely if he's available and you get the chance to grab him, definitely do so. Next up would be Calvin Austin III of the Pittsburgh Steelers, available in 90% of leagues. He had a solid week 1 performance, catching 4 passes for 70 yards and a touchdown on 6 targets. He's definitely a speedy wide receiver who can make big plays. He's a great streaming option, especially in deeper leagues. And we could see him have an increased role as the Steelers offense continues to produce. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is just getting started. It looks like he's having a better start to this year than last year, and definitely seems to be more in sync with these receivers. Obviously, they have DK Metcalf, so a lot of the defense will be focused on him, leaving Calvin Austin to have these type of good performances. So again, he had 6 targets, which is second most among team behind DK Metcalf. That's 4 receptions. That was about 70 yards, which is second most of the team behind DK Metcalf. But I do think with an Aaron Rodgers-led offense, they seem like they really want to throw the ball, that he's going to have a lot more opportunities. Obviously, I think the biggest thing is 6 targets isn't so great. Obviously, he has to make, he has to catch, a majority of those for it to make sense. But the idea is that he's involved in the offense, and if people are covering DK, he's going to be able to be open more. So that's about a 20% target share. But I think the good thing is he ran a route on 96.9%, so 97% of the team's dropbacks, and he's in 80% of the offensive snaps. So comparing that to other wide receivers on the team, so they have DK Metcalf, who's obviously the clear number 1 option, who led the team with 7 targets. So even though Calvin Austin had 6, DK only had 1 more than him. DK had 83 yards and a 20.8% target share. They also have Ben Skoranek. If you guys remember him, he actually scored a touchdown, but he only had 1 target and 1 reception. So, that touchdown and reception could have gone to either DK or Calvin Austin. They also have Roman Wilson, the rookie wide receiver, who was actually competing with Austin. I think this is probably why people didn't, kind of doubted Austin or didn't draft him. They expected Roman Wilson to take over that, but he didn't record reception in week 1. So Austin definitely seems like he moved ahead of him in the depth chart. And they also have Scotty Miller he was on Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had limited targets and didn't record reception as well. So again, Calvin Austin, I think DK and Calvin Austin are going to be the 2 main wide receivers there. On an Aaron Rodgers-led offense, I do think there's a lot of potential. Definitely worth a grab if you need a wide receiver. Then the last person on this list would be Jalen Higgins of the Houston Texans. Available in 95% of leagues. I actually drafted him in 2 or 3 of my leagues. He's a rookie and a great speculative ad. He only received 3 targets in week 1, but he's listed as a starter on the unofficial depth chart. And so while his stat line isn't super flashy, his usage is promising sign for his future, and is obviously a great pickup in a deeper league. I mean, that's why he's like my 5th most important wide receiver pickup this week. So again, someone to take a look at if you really need to grab someone if those other guys are not available. But he is someone who I think has a lot of potential. They obviously drafted him for a reason. He was drafted 34th overall. But his performance, he recorded 2 receptions for 32 yards on 3 targets. So again, nothing groundbreaking, but this made him the leading receiver in terms of yards despite the low totals, which is kind of crazy. Obviously, you don't expect him to put those type of numbers every single week. So definitely low totals, but he played in 27 offensive snaps, which is 43% of the team's total. But his target share was only 11%. But to put this in context, obviously Nico Collins is the main guy there. He's typically their top wide receiver. He finished 3 catches for 22 yards on only 5 targets. So again, we're not dealing with a lot of huge numbers. So even if you're the number 1 wide receiver there, it's hard to compare. Nico Collins had a much higher snap percentage though. He was on the field for 84% of the time, but he had a lower target share relative to his time in the field, which is only 9%. Also, obviously, no Tank Dell, but I think the big person who's kind of filled up the void there was Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, who caught 6 of 7 targets for 57 yards. So again, I guess it really depends. I know some people who are interested in Diggs. I have Diggs in one of my leagues, but I do think Jalen Higgins has the more upside, more potential. Obviously, they drafted him for a reason, want to get him more involved. So again, this was my speculative ad of the week. And again, those other guys on the list, definitely more priority. But again, if they're for some reason not available, or you really want to really believe in the Houston offense doing better, obviously I think this is probably the worst that they're ever going to do this season. But I do think that there is a lot of potential for Jalen Higgins. So let me know if there's anyone else out there that caught your eye from the wide receiver perspective. these were the 5 wide receivers that I'm interested, that I'll be putting in claims for in my various leagues. But yeah, let me know. I'm going to do another video on running backs for this week. But good luck in week 2 of your fantasy football.